Hello, everybody. Yes, hello, and welcome to the Tonight Show podcast for the day today, the 10th of August. I do apologise. Just before we went on air, my laptop decided to crash. But we are back on a pretty muggy evening tonight. It's a pretty muggy night tonight, I'm sure, as you guys have been out there. But it doesn't mean we have a summer of news to bring you up to speed with tonight. Lots of news. I'm joined by Parker supporter Zach Chambers for all the latest news. Hello, Zach.
Hi, Charlie. Hello, mate.
Well, I'm going to start off with the main news of the tonight. Now, obviously, as you guys have been hearing, I've not really actually heard much about this, but there's been some pretty horrible news in America at the moment. Obviously, we've had a big there has been some horrible weather. Obviously, it's coming towards hurricane season in America now. September, October time, very soon will be hurricane season. But there has been horrible wildfires in Hawaii. I think these have been going on for a little while, actually. I'm not sure. But there has been President Biden has declared an emergency, a federal emergency, from what I understand, as well. There's a disaster declaration has been approved amid fears the Maui death toll could rise. More than 10,000 people have been out without power. The president has approved the disaster on Thursday morning. Such funding can be used for grants such as temporary housing, loans to cover onshore property damage, and other ways to support recovery on the island. Joe Biden said in a speech, "I'm going to make sure that the state has everything from the federal government to recover. Of all available federal assets on the island, including the U.S. Coast Guard, Navy, Third Fleet, and U.S. Army to assist local emergency response groups and the Hawaiian National Guard. In the meantime, our prayers are with the people of Hawaii, but not just for prayers. Every asset will be available to them." Well, a pretty horrible. This is the footage we've got from Hawaii today. I mean, it is pretty stunning. I mean, but it's not stunning. It's pretty horrible, to be honest. The scenes are crazy to think that. I mean, the photography is honestly stunning, seeing the devastation in this. But, I mean, Zach, for Hawaii, obviously volcano eruptions meets wildfires.
Honestly, a lot of things happen in Hawaii, just to the point where it's battered and bruised and devastated a whole island that's off the coast of the USA. It was a part of USA land, but it's just off the coast of the USA land as well. But it is absolutely devastated a community and a lot of people as well. We now know that 36 people are now sadly dead in this very massive wildfires that have happened in Hawaii and the Moore County, Moo County, I don't know how you pronounce it, Moo County as well, where that's been suffering through the worst of it as well. Houses on fire, dry land as well. There's been 85-mile-an-hour winds because of hurricanes. It's hurricane season in the USA. And obviously very hot, very dry conditions has led to wildfires starting as well and caused absolute devastation. 36 dead at the moment. There's been a state of emergency declared in West Maui. The governor there said that it was not a safe place to be at the moment as well. 11,400 tourists have escaped from West Maui to any nearby islands that have not been affected by this at the moment. But the devastation has been unbelievable to see. You can see at the top there, look at the homes, look at the fires that have been spreading. It's just a load of black land at the moment. Devastated as well. Kiihi is one of them as well. The historic Waiala Church caught ablaze as well. A nearby Lahani Hawaii mission as well, engulfed in flames as well. 1,500 people now are going to leave the island as well. Furthermore, United Airlines, American Airlines as well. But it's still continuing on at the moment as well in Lahani, Puyallup County as well. Still live wildfires there at the moment as well. And it's just a devastation as well. Some was described as a war zone. Just lots of horrible scenes, really, to be fair. And innocent people have been caught up in this devastating, tragic, and quite frankly, awful event as well. Has been full of smoke, full of rubber, full of misery as well. It's just a terrible, terrible, event as well for Hawaii and for many people in that island as well. Hawaii is a very popular tourist destination in the United States for holidaymakers who want some time off, and this is this area of Maui County is one area where a lot of people go for their little holidays as well. One person has said they'd been flown there for 52 years. He'd never seen anything come close to this. The extent of the destruction of the island is really quite something to see as well. And it's it's lots just to see the blaze of fires that's going on as well. It's just incredible. Now, as you said, FEMA have got involved. The president declared a state of emergency as well. He's approved a declaration disaster in Hawaii. Obviously, that means that federal aid will now be coming to help the victims and with resources as well to help out with the recovery operation as well. The governor of Hawaii was out of the state when this fire happened. Now, I don't think that's necessarily the fault of the governor for being out of the state. They have cut their holiday short, which is good to see. But the Silverio Lucas, the acting governor, was the one that's delivering the press conference. Who said it would take years for the recovery for the damage, and the road will be very long, along with destruction of business and many homes in the area as well. So yeah, I mean, it's just incredible that you see even the boats caught on fire as well. It just looks tragic and awful of what's happened there. And yeah, I mean, you can even see it from the fires, the wildfires from a telescope. It's really that was that big and that wild. It really did show something as well. It's a tragic, awful, and miserable scene. That is just looks like a massive, zombie land village that doesn't really exist anymore. It really is that bad.
It's a tragedy, honestly. I mean, I can't believe we're seeing these scenes. It's just tragic, and for everyone here in the UK, it's just horrible. And even Australia have suffered these as well, bushfires and stuff, and it's just not nice. I have to say, we obviously my thoughts are with all those who've lost loved ones. It's a horrible event, and I mean, as I said earlier on, it's not just wildfires. We've got volcano eruptions. We've got Mount Kilauea over in Hawaii, which is one of the most active volcanoes in the world that always constantly tries to erupt whenever it wants to. But yeah, just an event like this adds to the misery for Hawaii's citizens. As I'm sure many of you guys know, America relies on this as heavily as a tourist destination. So yeah, but it wasn't the only thing on Biden's mind this weekend. Staying with America now, because he has been questioned by Fox News host Peter Doocy in a very interesting press conference. Now, this was obviously when he announced the measures. It was over foreign business dealings relating to his son, the Hunter. Have a listen to this exchange between the two the other day.
Sandra, we got a first of its kind reaction to that testimony. Nobody has asked President Biden yet about these allegations from a former Hunter Biden business associate that Hunter would call his dad, then the vice president, and put him on speakerphone to chat with his business associates. So at the conclusion of this event, I had a chance at the president's invitation, he waved his son over to ask him. There's this testimony now where one of your son's former business associates is claiming that you were on speakerphone a lot with them, talking business. Is that what?
Never talk business. And I know you'd have a lousy question.
Well, why is that a lousy question?
Because it's not true.
Thank you, Mr. President. And so he wanted to talk about the transition to a green economy. He did not want to talk about that, but it does now conflict with the sworn testimony of Devon Archer. Devon Archer went under oath to talk about these speakerphone calls. Some of the Democrats that came out of that room where they were listening in private said that the president was just talking about the weather, but he's saying that they didn't talk at all. Back to you.
Very interesting stuff. Great job.
There we go. That was the revelation there regarding Hunter Biden, which I know has been on the minds of a lot of Republicans at the moment, particularly obviously Donald Trump, as you know, who's been constantly on these rallies addressing this issue. I mean, Zach, what did you make to Peter Doocy's question to Joe Biden over this issue?
I do think it's legitimate to ask about this, but at the same time as well, I think this is a fig leaf story in many ways as well. I mean, the House Republicans are desperate to impeach Joe Biden for whatever reason they can come up with. There's no legit reason they can impeach him or anything else. They have to come up with Hunter Biden, Hunter Biden, Hunter Biden, Hunter Biden as some sort of a campaign tactic ahead of the next elections next year. And I quite frankly, I fail to see at the moment that the US public is even buying this at the moment. It's all been run on Fox News, Newsmax and everything like that. Nothing on mainstream channels, which suggests to me that, you know, it's very much a right-wing issue and not a general public issue in many ways as well. Now, obviously, there are interesting allegations. That person that was testifying, I noticed the reporter said he did a sworn testimony. It turns out he did not do a sworn testimony. It was all behind closed doors, so we couldn't really find out what he's actually said. And actually, if you look at what he actually said as well, the Biden, the associates that was actually there, according from what the transcript, as well from the actual testimony, as well, it looks like Devon Archer didn't actually say that President Biden discussed commercial business dealings on this call. As well, even Dan Goldman and the Democratic member of the committee asked Devon Archer about this, and he said no. So really and truly, this is basically a right-wing misinformation campaign to say that Biden did this, when it doesn't really look like he has at the moment. They don't even have even Jim Jordan and James Comer have admitted they've not even got the evidence. They said they hope they've got the evidence, which is just, if you're hoping you got something, then you really don't have your hopes up for it. So at the moment, this appears to be a nothing bugger story. That just seems to be a information of, let's bring on Hunter Biden, let's bring up Hillary Clinton for the 100,000th time, which stuff which the American public do not care about. What they're going to care about, the American public, is the economy, the state of the nation, democracy in action as well, and other things, rather than Hunter Biden, Hillary Clinton, all that sort of things as well. They're going to be focused on the economy, immigration, abortion, many other things as well, that will shape crime, I should say, as well. That's going to shape the election next year. Not really Hunter Biden. He's not going to really be in the top 10, no matter how much, people really like James Comer and Jim Jordan and the absolute whack jobs in the Republican Party try to make it out to be.
Yeah, well, that Hunter Biden issue will probably raise a lot on Fox News, and I'm sure many of you guys will be, if you are listening into them stations. But yeah, as I said, this, obviously we're mainly talking about the weather event, and it is a tragedy what's happened there in Hawaii. But moving on now to some news regarding, immigration, or should I say illegal immigration. We have welcomed, I believe, 100,000 migrants now. I watched the reaction from Patrick Christys on GB News earlier on, and I mean, it was like a celebration. Well, obviously, this is going to be coming after Lee Anderson's comment about the Bibi Stockholm. But basically, he said, and I can't repeat, he said basically to these people, F off back to France, in that comment there. Also, Diane Abbott has also taken a stance on it, well, with a rather more patronising tone, if you ask me. But yes, Zach, what did you make, obviously, to the latest news? And obviously, this Bibi Stockholm it's not really working, isn't it?
I've just, it's all a bit gone a bit crazy, hasn't it? This week is supposed to be focused on what the government called their small boats week. That's what the government have described it as. Although, quite frankly, small boats week has gone completely pairs up. If you want to find about it as well. You had Sorella Braverman saying that she would sort out crooked lawyers, which sounds a bit like a far right, Pinge book out the books of the far right, like I said as well. But yeah, and there's also been talks as well about what happens if the Rwanda plan falls apart because the Supreme Court strikes it down as well. I mean, there's been talks about putting migrants on an island somewhere, and this was propped up in 2020, I believe, because even Jacob Rees-Mogg, I think, was one of those that suggested the idea. And when they actually thought the idea, Jacob Rees-Mogg claimed at the time when he was in government that it was not possible because it cost £1 million per person to even get it on this island as well. Accession Island, there we go. That was the one I was trying to look for. Accession Island, just the idea of putting migrants offshore in the island there, if Rwanda wasn't going to work. Accession Island, by the way, is located in the equator in the South Atlantic Ocean. It's about 1,000 miles from the coast of Africa, 1,004 miles from the coast of South America as well. It doesn't really appear to have lots of things looking at it. It is a British overseas territory, you should point out, as well. It's part of the South Atlantic Ocean. But this is an idea that they brought up before. They said it cost too much money. It wasn't workable. But now it may try and bring it up again. I mean, I don't even know what's going through their mind, really. We know that it's going to be a costly endeavor if they do that sort of thing as well. It may also be unpractical, just like Rwanda in many ways as well, because of the, trying to get across, then, flying them out and all that cost, and then cost £1 million per migrant. It's just simply taxpayers' money wasted in simple terms. It really is as well. And then you had the wild spectacle of Lee Anderson open his gob again. He's well known for opening his gob as well. But nevertheless, he's the one to open a big gob in many ways. We had that Stockholm Stockton little ship, sort of migrant ship that's now opened, and the first asylum seekers and migrants are now on that ship as well. If they refuse to relocate, some of the existing ones refuse to locate, they will have no service left, and they will be refused to be provided, which means they'll be homeless. They'll be get no support from the UK government as well. And yeah, it's an interesting way to try and deter them, but I think not. It hasn't gone down too badly yet with the asylum seekers. Well, let's see how long it takes as well. But it doesn't contain that painting anymore because Robert Jenrick decided to be a dickhead and decided to order it to be painted down and everything like that as well. But Lee Anderson decided to open his mouth this week, basically saying if refugees, asylum seekers didn't like these Stockholm, they should go F off back to France, according to his words. Very kind way of saying it to migrants and asylum seekers. Very kind. I mean, this is Lee Anderson, a member of Parliament, using such dignified language as usual. But then again, it appears Diane Abbott wasn't as better as well, by saying that in response to Lee Anderson that they've already effed off to the bottom of the sea, which kind of is harsh because not all of them have. Some do, but it's very harsh on those who. It's almost a glorifying death in some ways for what Diane Abbott did. And it got quickly deleted, her tweet, within the matter of the hour, as well. So yeah, Diane Abbott was stupid to say that. Lee Anderson was even more stupid to say what he said as well. And it did. To be honest, Small Boats Week is not going well. Although it looks like the UK has got a deal with Turkey and everything like that, to pretty much. Sort of do stop people smuggling and people trafficking in many ways as well. There are other areas where Small Boat Week really, really has not gone well in many ways. And one point out as well. This is the Times of obviously Home Affairs editor Matt Down, who pointed out today that this small boat week really isn't ending well, because today there's been a border force cutter which is part of action due to technical glitch. The one of the government's drones that they've paid £420,000 for out of taxpayer money crashed into the channel today. 11 boats carrying hundreds of migrants crossed the channel. The Coast Guard coordinated a search and rescue response to a small boats incident. 17 migrants rescued from the water after went overboard during one crossing.
Yeah.
Today's crossing numbers saw, we now know that today, as you see, as you said, statistics, Charlie, that since statistics on small boats crossing began, there's now 100,000 people that have crossed from the island, from many places, and immigrated and seek refuge in the UK. Which we in Lee Anderson's words, the government have been in disgrace in pretty much the way they've handled the small boats crisis. Yes, that's the deputy chairman slacking off his own government. I'm sure Labour are absolutely loving the election leaflets they're going to write out of this as well. So yeah, this has been a disaster week. It's all been arguments over lawyers, crooked lawyers, Suella Braverman, the ECHR again, the same old petty infighting right-wing nationalist tributes arguments that we hear of that probably never comes to fruition, sparks a load of noise, and is actually bad if based on the argument alone. So yeah, I mean, Small Boats Week as well has ended with absolutely small brains week for the people inside the Conservative Party, and one person in particular that's an independent but sort of remains with Labour in any way as well. You're referencing Diana as well. Yeah, Small Boats Week has been pretty much small brains week for politicians, with their very colourful language and not so very kind words for lawyers as well.
It's not been a great week if you are definitely on the channel. We have to say as well, I think that the whole immigration issue is becoming a problem. We need to address it quickly. But moving on now to the next part of the show, and please leave a comment if you want to hear more on that. I wish everyone can share their thoughts on what's been happening. But yes, this is the Tonight Show podcast, me, Charlie and Zach, live on YouTube. Now it's time to tackle the next issue. Now, I want to talk about this. This is quite a developing situation, an evolving situation that's happening over in Ukraine and also Poland as well. Now, the last week, we have seen Belarus, should I say Wagner mercenaries practicing drills across Belarus, across the border where Poland is. There's also been news this week of Poland's airspace being violated by 2 Belarusian helicopters as well. Now, President Alexander Lukashenko is certainly not giving up his plan. And this could be a serious catastrophe for Europe if war was to break out. Now, I don't want war. As I said last year during my statement on Ukraine, I want peace in Europe. I want peace throughout the whole world. But tensions are souring right now. And Poland obviously have an election on the way later this year as well, which obviously they're going to hold a general election from what we've read up. And obviously we know that Ukraine is still at war with Russia, with a latest missile attack in Zaporizhia already claiming the lives of yet more people. In fact, we can actually get you up right now the latest feed from the war in Ukraine, where there's been blails at an oil depot there as well. But yeah, Zach, I have to say, obviously it's a big week for Ukraine, but also for the rest of Europe as well, because this could be quite a serious development here.
Yeah, absolutely. No, this is a really serious development. Let me explain what's going on in Poland and Belarus at the moment. Now, today we've had news today that Poland is going to send an extra 10,000 troops to the border with Belarus, following various incidents involving helicopter military intrusions at its border. They're basically, the government in Poland saying it's helped guard against mercenaries from the Wagner group, who are moved to Belarus as well and taking ship there and everything like that as well. And now being said to moving towards the border. Now, the reason why this all starts because Poland said that obviously we saw on the 1st of August Belarusian military helicopters to flow at a low altitude about 2 kilometers into its territory in the Bolwegas region as well. Belarusian armed forces conducting exercises at the border at the time. Its government says that the Belarusian response saying that there was no border violations and described the acquisition of all whale's tail as well. So that's really what's been happening over this. Been a bit of border build up as well. In many ways as well. So Poland Borgar now says 19,000 migrants have tried to cross the border this year and 16,000 did so as well. Poland's government has called Belarus's strategy hybrid warfare because the reason why they're doing this is because Belarus is trying to shut their borders. Well, they're not trying to shut the borders, but they're trying to stop migrants from crossing the borders. So put all these measure ups as a wave of trying to, force all the immigrants into Poland in many way as well. There's also reports that Wagner could be prepared to pose as immigrants to enter EU territory and Poland territory as well, which is another big problem because that's serious in its own right as well, which basically is known as hybrid warfare as well. How about 100 of Wagner troops have now moved to the city of Gornodo, which is both close to the Polish and Lithuanian borders. As well, so obviously because of the most of them have now moved to Belarus in any way as well because obviously their stupid coup attempt that completely failed and was attention seeking in many ways as well. But yeah, this is all causing a build up into borders as well and causing a little bit of tension between Belarus as well. Now, obviously, the significant as well about it as well is that. If obviously, there are incursions into European Union territory and there are incidents that happen that are serious enough that involve killings and bombings of civilian homes or anything like that as well, then technically, if it happened in Poland, then that would be a violation of EU territory. Poland is a member of NATO and they could trigger Article 5 if they really wanted to. And then the whole of NATO, including our army, and troops and everyone else in the NATO transatlantic alliance would have to get involved.
It's World War III in a nutshell. That's a very huge concern.
Now, obviously, as well, I'm reading what some military analysts at the moment, and they believe there is not really much evidence at the moment. They think that Russia and Belarus are going to try and do something in Poland, but it just causes these tensions between countries, and it causes lots of anxiety as well. Now, this may also be election posturing, because Poland has got an election coming up as well in October. I think it's October because I know the president announced the date as well of that as well. October the 15th, it will hold its general election for president and prime minister and all the other countries as well. So that's at the moment. As well, the PRCIS is the country in charge as well, and they're looking for a third term in power in October. So yeah, this is maybe election posturing as well, but this is also a very serious moment for Poland and Belarus because it means tension on the borders, and hybrid warfare is nothing that we want to see at all.
It is. Certainly not. And the situation in Ukraine, Zach, not looking any good.
Yeah, I mean, it's, again, like you said, Charlie, it's not looking necessarily brilliant as well. Now, today alone, it's looking very stressful in some areas for Ukraine. Ukraine have ordered a mandatory evacuation of all its civilians from 37 settlements in the northeast of the Kharkiv region, the Kubansk district, as well, because they've evacuated people there because of constant Russian shelling. As well. Russia said they've gained some ground in the area, although Ukraine are disputing that, saying that Russia attacks being rebuffed. As well, none of them has been independently verified, which should point as well. The Kupiansk district said residents of 2 towns and 35 villages were being evacuated, as well, because of constant shelling in the area, in that Kharkiv area. So this is a very concerning development, really, that Ukraine are having to evacuate civilians in the area, which suggests to me that they are worried that territory is in danger and is going to be taken by the Russians, which it would be very concerning if it does happen. But we don't seem to have verifying evidence yet that that is happened. But you can see there all the structures recently of other areas as well, of what's happened as well. In many ways, the Zaporizhia areas, as you mentioned as well, the Troitsin area as well. 2 people have been killed today. As well. That's in the Russia region, by the way. 2 people, the Troitsy, were killed by Ukraine in the Russian region, Troitsy in the Boyska region. As well, that's interesting because the Ukraine still continues to attack Russian territory. There are drones that have been repelled by Russia in Moscow and other areas as well. Russia also said it downed 11 Ukrainian drones in Crimea, as well as 2 drones flying towards the capital, Moscow. And Ukraine, on the other hand, claimed to have shot down 7 of the 10 drones launched overnight in Russia. As well, air defense would be active in the key region as well. 6 evidence the Boyska region have been hospitalized. Russian artillery fire there. We know that Zaporizhia attack as well on Wednesday. 2 young women and a man have been killed in that one as well. And Russian drones destroyed a fuel depot in the Ravine region on Thursday as well. So yeah, it's all still countering either side at the moment as well. But yeah, there's obviously border build up in Poland and Belarus, still active fighting in Crimea and in Russia as well, and Ukraine. All sides as active as ever in this war continues on day 533 of the invasion right now. Day 533. That's how fast it's gone, and that's how long we've been going on at the moment in this Ukraine war.
It's certainly day of 533 is not a success if you're Vladimir Putin. Certainly not. As well, but we just want this war to end. Honestly, it's horrible, and we want Russia to fail. We want Ukraine to win. That's the whole point. Allies versus Axis. That's it. Simple. Ukraine need to win this war and restore peace in their territory and peace across Europe. Now, moving on now to the sports news. We've got a lot to talk about for the sport now. Obviously, we do have the news because this weekend we're going to start with the football, because obviously we've had the Women's World Cup this week. England are now playing on, I believe, on Saturday in the quarterfinals of the Women's World Cup. But this weekend, we'll see the return of the Premier League action. Obviously, last weekend we had the Championship as well, a few fixtures going on there. But this weekend is the return of the main thing. It actually starts tomorrow evening when Manchester City and Burnley will be facing off against each other. That match, and then followed by a weekend of action. Zach, finally, for football fans, the Premier League makes its long-awaited return tomorrow night.
Oh, haven't we just missed Premier League football as well? It's been a long time. It feels like a long time, but it's been a while now, and it's all going to kick off tomorrow night with newly promoted Burnley being reunited. Vincent Kompany, their manager, being reunited at with their old rivals Manchester City. This is like a very fairy tale start to the season in many ways as well. A newly promoted side versus the current reigning champions of England. It's a good way to start the Friday, the first match of the season, as well. And yeah, that's really good to see. It's going to be a fascinating match. Burnley, Vincent Kompany taking on his old side, Manchester City. That's 8:00 tomorrow as well. And the first match will be live on Sky Sports. And then on Saturday, we have 4, 5, 6 matches on the Saturday as well. And the main match of the day will be last year's runner-up and so nearly champions until they bottled it till the end of the season, Arsenal, taking on a side that actually defeated them towards the end of the season, Nottingham Forest as well. That's at 12:30 on Saturday. That's on TNT Sports, which, by the way, is the new name for the BT Sports channels. TNT Sports, it's the new name for that as well. Same, it's just a new name on a different, it's on the usual sports section if you want to find it as well. But if you had BT, then you'll get TNT as well. So that's on the 12:30 on Saturday. And then 4 3:00 matches as well. Bournemouth begin the season obviously without Gary O'Neill, now managing Wolves, against West Ham, who've been now starting to get a bit active in the transfer market. Harry Maguire, Scott McTominay rumoured to be joining them as well. They also got a signing today as well, which was really important. The Mexican as well, Edison Alvarez as well. He managed to join, announced his new signing today. James Ward-Prowse could be another one that could be on its way to West Ham. He's having a medical there tomorrow night, as I understand it. which will be very important. He may not be able to start on Saturday, but he will probably get a medical there on Friday before his confirmation signing. And we don't know the situation about Harry Maguire as well. It looks like he may sign a £30 million deal as well to join West Ham there as well. West Ham fans have been begging for some signings after Declan Rice went as well, and a few others as well. Paqueta's gone as well. Paqueta as well would be very interesting as well. So it for West Ham, this is it's going to be a busy period of the next month as well. Again, their first match is against Bournemouth as well, obviously without Gary O'Neill anymore. That match is at 3, and then the other matches at 3 are Brighton, who are taking on who got Europe for the first time in a long time. They're taking on a newly promoted Luton at home as well. Brighton Luton at 3. Everton, who just escaped relegation last year, on the final day, taking on Fulham side as well. And we've got newly promoted Sheffield United taking on Crystal Palace. And then the match at 5:30 I think it's a good one, really, to be fair. 2 European contenders, Newcastle as well, and also playing the Champions League this season. And Aston Villa are playing the Europa League season for the first time as well. That'll be on at 5:30 Saturday. And then on Sunday, a London derby to kick off Sunday, Brentford and Spurs as well. That'll be probably a competitive match in that ways as well. And then Mauricio Pochettino's first match as Premier League match as Chelsea manager begins at 4:30 Sunday against Liverpool as well. There will be a feisty matchup for that one as well. And then the Monday night football as well next week will be Manchester United against Wolves, who have already, like I said, appointed Gary O'Neill as their manager this week as well. Lopetegui decided to terminate and decided to leave Wolves as well over differences with the owners and the managers there as well. So it's now Gary O'Neill who is in charge of Wolves, and will be first match will take place on Monday night at 8 o'clock as well. So yeah, that's all ahead as well. Massive weekend of football ahead, Charlie.
And also transfer news as well. Is Tottenham going to be selling Harry Kane potentially?
Potentially. They have reports today that there have been some sort of a fee agreed if he is going to go over to Bayern Munich. We say if he is going to Bayern Munich because the player himself has not decided whether he wants to move yet. Now, reports this evening from Sky suggest he may actually stay at Spurs. There was some discomfort at the time for Harry Kane that he may wanted to leave Spurs for quite a while now. We had this drama a few years ago whether he's going to go, whether he's going to stay, whether he's going to go or not. But he decided to stay then. Is he going to stay now? Will be the question. At the moment, it looks like from reports from Sky that he's leaning towards staying, even though Bayern Munich have agreed a fee for him. So we don't know. It's up to Harry Kane to decide. I don't know at this rate. I think, he wants to give Angus Popovic at times at Spurs, so he may end up staying. But also, on the other hand, does he want to go out, win titles, be able to become an even better player at Bayern Munich for about 100 million? I have to say, I'm actually finding it really surprising that Harry Kane is worth less than Declan Rice, in my view. I mean, Declan Rice, a phenomenal player. But Harry Kane, the nearly record goal scorer in the Premier League, is only worth 100 million compared to Declan Rice's 110 million. Not sure about that. I mean, it's very decent value for Bayern if they get 100 million. But certainly Tottenham would spend, I'd say, sell it on the cheap in some ways as well, if you do get it. But who knows? It appears that Harry Kane may decide to stay yet. So far, I don't think this saga is over yet in terms of whether Harry is a Tottenham fan or he's going to go to Germany yet.
Now, the final question before we move on and do the motor racing, a lot of you guys have been asking me, and particularly had a question from my uncle the other day, is a lot of the Premier League signing, a lot of former Premier League players are moving to Saudi. And Zach, this seems like an interesting move from the Saudi teams, putting a lot of big signings on some of these Premier League players.
Yeah, I think it's interesting as well. We've seen a lot of the transfer market, a lot of these players move to Saudi Arabian sides in the Saudi Pro League. Now, keep in mind, the Saudi clubs are a lot richer. They own a lot more money, so they're able to spend as much as well. We have seen them try to get, Carl Benzema, Mbappe, some of the Saudi clubs have tried to offer him like 250 odd million pounds or something like that, just to get his services, and which Mbappe has decided not to accept. But it just shows you the value, the strength of the money that's been sold in Saudi Arabia, and they're attracting players like Ronaldo, Sadio Mane as well, Jordan Henderson, Steven Gerrard's there. I know Robbie Fowler is managing over there as well, former ex-Liverpool players as well. Robbie Fowler's over there now. So it's an attractive market for whatever reason. And yeah, it's even got a UK TV deal this year. DAZN's going to broadcast it as well, I believe. So it's becoming an attractive playground. And I don't know what the attraction is to Saudi, whether it's for money or just for the selling everything like that as well. It's becoming a bit of a thing over there, and I'm big names are moving over there for whatever reason. Don't know why. I think it's just for the money, just for the sake of it, for their own sake. But yeah, nevertheless, it's becoming a bit of a thing and something to keep an eye out for.
Please comment down below, guys, what you make to this. It's certainly very, very interesting. And yes, that is all we can say on that right now. Moving on now to the motor racing. Obviously, guys, Formula One is on the summer break, so we'll keep you updated with the news as it comes in on that now. But we're going to talk about IndyCar now. We're going to head over to, of course, Nashville, where last week we had the Big Machine Music City Grand Prix. It's actually one of my favourite races of the season. This street circuit in Nashville is a tester for all of these drivers. Kind of a bit like, I don't know if it's like Monaco, but it's like there can be crash fest races, if you ask me. But, well, what can I say? I watched the highlights. There was a lot of drama in the IndyCar race, which saw, believe it or not, a winner that we probably all used to seeing, and a winner who actually deserves recognition. Kyle Kirkwood taking the win in like quite an unbelievable race, I have to say. That it was full of controversy. Romain Grosjean thankfully managed to have a clean race, from what I understand, after being punted out many times. But yes, it was a great race to watch. Loads of drivers making contact. I think we saw Hayo Castroneves getting involved. We saw some other drivers getting involved. I think like Scott Dixon might have had there was quite a few drivers that had problems. It was a pretty crazy event, to say the least, until we can get the results up. Here we go. The results are up there as well. You can see like David Malukas had a mechanical, Devlin Di Francesco, Felix Rosenquist, Benjamin Pedersen, Jack Harvey. I think Alexander Rossi had so many drivers having collisions. Zach, what did you make to this IndyCar race in Nashville? Because it was certainly a chaotic one for sure.
Oh, wasn't it just? It was very dramatic in many ways as well. I mean, it was quite incredible as well. Kyle Kirkwood, an incredible victory, winning by 0.7 seconds. That was his winning margin as well, to take his second victory of the season. Alex Palou has now extended his lead in the championship as well. Scott McLaughlin was the other one that finished just behind him in second position. Wild finish as well. There was a red flag for pile up as well in the last stages as well, which, you know, sounds a bit like Formula E in some ways. Pile up. On the streets of Nashville, it's not a surprise anyway, as well. But yeah, Nashville was an incredible race. Kirkwood finishing 0.7 ahead of Scott McLaughlin as well. There was a bit of an aborted start towards the end as well. McLaughlin led the field from Pato Award as well. Kirkwood started 8th in the rep as well, made a bit of a move on willpower. Newgarden, who at the time on the started, had dropped back to 10th as well. McLaughlin pulling the 2.7 second lead as well. But honestly, it was chaos after chaos after chaos as well. It was just really fuel saving strategies as well. Cautions towards the end, 7 laps remaining as well. But with Kirkwood, again, with Felix Rosenquist, Campino got tangled up. Benjamin Pedersen got turned up to turn 11 because the track was blocked. Red flag came out as well. Ericsson got a blocking penalty as well. Who was very poor from him as well. Palou managed to hold on, put the pressure on McLaughlin, despite, probably saving fuel as well. But honestly, what a race it was. It was Kirkwood ahead of McLaughlin, was ahead of Palou in third, with Newgarden in fourth. Scott Dixon in fifth, Roman Grosjean in sixth, Ericsson in seventh, Pato Ward in eighth, Christian Lundgaard in ninth, and Will Power in 10th. An absolutely incredible race, full of drama and absolute chaos as well. Really was something as well. And what that means is in the standings as well, if we look at it in front of me here as well, what it means is that Alex Palou has now extended his lead in the championship, 513 points to 429 as well, with 4 races to go. He could well wrap up the title in a couple of races if he keeps extending this advantage as well. It really good result for him at all as well. Newgarden is second, has edging ahead of Scott Dixon as well in the championship battle as well. But Palou is ahead of Scott Dixon and Scott McLaughlin as well, and Marcus Ericsson fifth as well. Patrice Award sixth, Power seventh, got 8. Carl Kirkwood after the Vichy is now in 9th, and Colton Herter is in 10th. That battle, but below from 8th onwards seems to be very busy in terms of between 8th and 11th in terms of the title to get into the top 10 as well. And I think it's also quite close between Pato Ward, Ericsson, and McLaughlin for 4th position at the moment. Scott Dixon looked okay in 3rd. Just need consistent results to finish the season on the high as well. But yeah, it's been was a dramatic race as well over in Nashville. Now we've got 4 rounds of the season remaining now. 4 rounds left. The next race, it will be at the second visit to the Indianapolis road course this season, the 3rd to Indy overall as well. The race is on Saturday at 7 p.m. UK time as well. It's a NASCAR and IndyCar double header this weekend, I should say as well. I might as well mention NASCAR whilst we're at it, because it's a NASCAR and IndyCar double header this weekend with NASCAR Xfinity Series, NASCAR Cup Series in action, and then the IndyCars as well in action this weekend as well. There's also a Truck Series, which is also at the Indy mini circuit as well. I think it's called the Lucas Oil Speedway or something like that as well. But yeah, the Craftsman Truck Series will be in action there, as well as ARCA Series. Yeah, it's the T Sport 200 for them. It's the Lucas Oil Indianapolis Raceway Park there as well. That's the sort of the mini version of it as well. That's on Saturday after the Xfinity Series as well. That's also on the Indy Road course as well. And the Cup Series race this weekend on the road course at the Brickyard is at 7:30 UK time on Sunday as well.
Just getting the results up for the Cup Series whilst we're here, guys. And that was won by Chris Buescher last time out.
Yes, Chris Buescher's second race victory in a row. That is a very monumental victory for Chris Buescher as well. He managed to beat Truex on the road as well. Denny Hamlin was 3rd, Keselowski 4th, Carl Larson 5th, Daniel Suarez 6th, Chastain 7th, Kevin Harvick 8th, Ryan Blaney 9th, and Eric Jones was in 10th position. That was the race there as well. Now, I should mention something that happened over the week, Charlie, that I think needs to be obviously brought to our attention as well. Noah Gragson. You may have seen this week he has been suspended by NASCAR, and and as well, I think it's Noah Gragson. I think
I think so.
Involved in altercation as well. Today he's parted. Actually, Noah Gragson was caught liking a tweet on Twitter that involved, I believe, a meme of George Floyd and being kneed down the sea as well. It was a meme, but it was a very crass and extremely inappropriate meme that Noah Gragson seemed to like on social media and got the attention of others as well. I have to say, this is the sort of thing that you not want to see as much as you dank memes and everything like that as well. So laughing about George Floyd's kneeling and having a laugh about it whilst liking tweets on memes about it is deeply offensive in many ways as well. It's very racist, and it was very just extremely inappropriate. Now, Noah Gragson got suspended by Legacy Motorsport Clubs for the race ahead of Michigan this weekend for liking that tweet. He also, I think he was replaced by Josh Berry for this weekend, last weekend as well for the race in Michigan as well. Now, today, Noah Gragson has parted company with Legacy Motorsport as well, following NASCAR's suspension of Noah Gragson as well. He said the team said Noah Gragson requested to be released from his contract as well. The 25-year-old now, obviously, Noah Gragson did apologise after he was caught liking his very racist meme. Not his racist meme himself, but liking a racist meme. He said he was disappointed in his lack of attention, action on social media. He understands the severity of the situation. I love and appreciate one. I treat everyone equally, no matter who they are. I messed up, plain and simple. Now, this is not the first time there's been a racist incident. We may remember Carl Larson a few years ago got suspended by his team for saying the N-word live on a Twitch stream as well. He last year got 13 next NASCAR Xfinity Series victories, the championship runner-up as well. He joined this season as LMC for his first full-time Cup Series as well. Just he only had 2 top 20s to this day and best finish at 12th. He also suffered concussion after symptoms as well due at Gateway as well. But nevertheless, it was a stupid thing for Noah Gragson to do, and that's why he got suspended from his team and NASCAR as well, and now he's parted company with Legacy Motorsport Club as well. So he's no longer going to be racing in that team if he's going to get reinstated for NASCAR in the future.
Yeah, so now he'll be taking a little break from NASCAR there. Will Noah Gragson, and I condemn what he done. As you know, Nikita Mazepin's had a similar issue. And funny enough, Haas didn't actually sack him until they realised, and then they got rid of him after a terrible year in F1. So that's all I can say on that one. Now, finally, before we go on and do tonight's conversation streak, I just want to quickly mention about Formula E, because Jaguar have a new driver in Nick. Funnily enough, a surprise signing, Nick Cassidy replacing Sam Bird, but also Envision Robin Frijns rejoins the team.
Yeah, it's been the transfer market as well has been really, really getting its move on really in many ways as well. Nick Cassidy has signed for Jaguar TCS Racing for next season. He's replacing Sam Bird, who's obviously left Jaguar. We don't know his future destination yet, but possibly could be McLaren in the near future. We don't know actually yet at the moment as well. But Nick Cassidy, last season runner-up, joining a Jaguar for the season ahead, alongside Mitch Evans as well. This is the merry-go-round already starting as well. So Cassidy follows news that Evans recently signed a new multi-contract Jaguar, continued relationship with that began in 2016, and he's obviously making the longest drive and team pairing in current Formula E history at the moment as well. We expect Sam Bird to join Neo McLaren for next season, where we don't have official confirmation yet that that has happened. We also have other news as well. Robin Frijns is returning to Formula E as well. He's replacing Nick Cassidy at Envision, who's obviously moved from Envision to Jaguar as well. Robin Frijns had previously had the season off as well, but he moved to Aquapra this year, but joined with a breaking wrist opening round result, missing 4 races. He only finished poised twice on occasions as well. But Robin Frijns is now returning to Envision Racing for next season as well. Looks like he's there on a full-time basis as well. And he will partner Sebastian Buemi at Envision as well. And that's good, which is good to see as well. But yeah, Nick Cassidy at Jaguar, Robin Frijns at Envision. Someone who did have a possible link as well, was potentially Sebastian Vettel. Now, there was rumours going around that he may have been in talks to join Formula E in some ways with our team as well, because obviously he's very, very focused, environmentally focused as well. And it's really a lot of speculation that Sebastian Vettel was given would probably be joining AT Cupra as well. And given the fact that he lives in Switzerland, he's very high on green issues, but he denied it this week, so it looks like that's not going to happen at all. But yeah, the transfer market is getting interesting as well. Then and yeah, it's all getting very bit interesting in many ways as well. With Sam Bird, Robin Fiennes, as well, Nick Cassidy, as well. All that's going interestingly so far.
Yes, it's going to be an interesting event. And obviously, please comment down below, guys, what you make to the current Formula E driver lineups. I'm sure a lot of you guys want to know exactly what's happening with that.
Yeah.
Now it's time to talk about Conversation Street tonight, because I've got something great to talk about. Cue the music, please. Exactly what you think this might be.
If it knows.
Yeah.
And you'll be in a world of your imagination. Take a look and you'll see into your imagination.
Yeah, you might know where that song is from. Of course, it's Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, released in 1971, because there is going to be a new Wonka film coming out. I believe I'm not sure it's already in cinemas, but I believe on the 15th of December, this film is releasing and actually looks very interesting. It's the third edition of the Willy Wonka franchise. You know, obviously the release of the original in 1971. Obviously, Gene Wilder, we obviously lost him a few years ago. I think about 5 or 6 years ago now. I just want to say, obviously, we mourn the loss of Gene Wilder. He was an inspirational actor and a great singer as well. You know, sung obviously that song Pure Imagination in the original film. Kind of actually the inspiration for the Golden Ticket and Craig David's Born to Do It album, if I'm honest. He was talking about that in an interview once. So, yeah, but obviously they had the second one, I think, in 2005, where Johnny Depp played Willy Wonka. We had a bit more of a backstory in that film, completely different, like backstory talking about when he was growing up with a hairdresser and his dad, and he used to cut hair and stuff. Very interesting. But now the third film, this is where we're going to hear the full story of Willy Wonka and go over this amazing adventure in the new Wonka film, where I have to say, if you're certainly interested in your chocolate bars or Wonkas in that, you'll be surprised to know that this is going to be a very, very interesting film. Now, obviously, we know the cast. Obviously, we know that there's going to be a new actor. Hugh Grant is also going to be appearing as well as an Oompa Loompa. So I am going to be very interested to see how that goes on. But this film is, well, going to be very interesting. I am sure you guys are all expecting a great cast for this film. And we have the cast here for you guys. I'll play for you a little clip of the trailer in a minute, so you get to hear it all. But this is the cast, guys, for the film. This is all listeners out there who are expecting the new one cast and who want to see it. We've got the cast up here. It will feature, obviously, Timothy Chalamet, who will play Willy Wonka. Hugh Grant will be an Oompa Loompa. Rowan Atkinson as a priest. Matt Lucas as Prodnose. Matthew Banton as Fickler Glover. Olivia Colman as an actress. Freya Parker as Miss Bonbon. And Sally Hawkins as Willy's mother. I mean, Zach, this film looks certainly like it's going to be very interesting for sure.
Honestly, they've got they've managed to get a very, very diverse, very high name cast for this film, which is called Wonka. This is a prequel to Willy Wonka's Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. In many ways, this is the prequel. So this is before it happened. This is going to be the untold story of Alarm Willy Wonka and how he met the Oompa Loompas on one of his early adventures. They expect this is going to come out in cinemas as well. Hopefully later this year, early next year, sometime about that as well. But it's got a top cast. Timothy Chalamet, who's playing the main character, young Willy Wonka, as well. Then you got a lot of stuff like, as you said, Hugh Grant, Olivia Colman, who's filmed many films and TV shows as well. Olivia Colman, you can't get rid of that. Hugh Grant, Keegan-Michael Key as well. Sally Hawkins, who's going to be playing Willy's mother as well. Rowan Atkinson, come on, you must know who Rowan Atkinson is by now. Who's going to play
Johnny English, Mr. Bean,
Mr. Bean, Johnny English, all those films. Matt Lucas, who hosted Bake Off as well for a while. And then you got Simon Farrelly, Jim Carter, Patterson Joseph as well, Matthew Byington, who's going to play the Fickle Grubbler as well. And then you got people like Natasha Roll, Justin Edwards, Tom Davis is also involved in this one. The comedian Tom Davis. Also, this one I got Randy Fear and Rufus Jones. Oh, what a character in that way. Rich Fulcher and Freya Parker, who's going to play Mrs. Bonbon as well. Oh, what a cast, you have to say, in that one as well. There's an absolute gigantic cast. And it's going to be a fun time exploring what Wonka's life is going to be like before he was a bit of a character in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, because these are going to be the prequel as well. It says the 1975 one film Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, which is based on the novel Charlie and the Chocolate Factory by Roald Dahl as well. And yeah, it's just going to be exploring young Willy Wonka as well in this one, and just really, a fun and very fascinating film ahead as well.
Expect it to be a musical, so lots of music. That's what I honestly musical. Yeah. I mean, I watched the musical a couple of weeks ago when I was away in Torquay, and it was called Stardust. It was basically like this variety show with loads of performers. Like they had some like people coming out. They sung a song called Suddenly Seymour from Little Shop of Horrors. They also done a Queen performance. They also done David Bowie hit. There was loads on there. I could try and name loads of the songs, but this is going to be a musical. I love musicals. Obviously, The Greatest Showman. I haven't seen that film, but I've heard it's a great film. It's a musical-related film. This film is going to be an interesting film. I'm going to play for you now the trailer, guys. Just a little snippet of this trailer to see what exactly this film is going to be. Because trust me, this looks pretty epic. Have a listen to this.
I spent the past 7 years traveling the world perfecting my craft. You see, I'm something of a magician, inventor, and chocolate maker. So quiet up and listen down. Nope, scratch that. Reverse it.
Mr. Wonka, I can see you're a man of great ingenuity. What are you doing?
I'm making chocolate, of course. How do you like it? Dark, white, nutty, absolutely safe.
Many people have come here to sell chocolate. They've all been crushed by the chocolate cartel. You can't get a shop without selling chocolate, and you can't sell chocolate without a shop. No daydreaming.
What are we gonna do, Willie?
Huh.
Huh?
Huh.
A double huh?
Get the pencil and paper.
Uh-huh.
I got an idea. I know things haven't been easy for you. They're gonna get better.
You promise?
I pinky promise. That's the most solemn vow there is.
Where do we start?
A good chocolate should be simple.
Where's this? It's just good.
What's happening? Ooh, what's a chocolate that makes it fly?
Let's find out, shall we?
Who's right on the job? Nothing to see here. Just a small group of people defying the laws of gravity.
Ladies and gentlemen of the Gallery Gourmet, my name is Willy Wonka.
He's good. Too good. Yeah, pretty sure I've gained about 150 pounds in the last 2 weeks. You could change her life, Mr. Wonka. Change all their lives.
Every good thing in this world started with a dream. So you hold on to yours.
Here we go, Mama.
Mark my words, this is gonna be the greatest chocolate shop the world has ever seen. So you're the funny little man who's been following me.
I will have you know that I am a perfectly respectable size for an Oompa Loompa.
You're number one now?
Allow me to refresh your memory.
Oh, I don't think I want to hear that.
Too late. I started dancing now. Once we started, we can't stop.
15th of December. Oh, wow. That film, it sounds amazing. I'm honestly so hyped up. I really want to go watch it. So, yeah. Certainly, I'll be putting that on my bucket list. But, yeah, Wonka. It is going to be a great film, honestly, guys. It looks cool. I think this could be a big seller for the UK theatre industry. Certainly a film that we're all going to be watching. I really think this film will be interesting. And I hope to get my Wonka. Hopefully, they'll sell Wonka bars again, which would be great. Go to your local Tesco or Asda or Sainsbury's to see if they sell them in there. Maybe they have a golden ticket in it. I'm not quite sure what that would be. But yeah, that's all I can say. That's Wonka coming out at the end, towards the end of the year, December the 15th. I'm pretty sure it's when the cinema deck be released. So yeah, it is going to be interesting. Now it's time for press preview. Now we're going back to the news stories that matter to you. We're going to now go over the newspaper headlines. I thought I'd go over them a little bit later on because obviously it allows more headlines to come out as well. So we're just going to quickly go over the newspaper headlines whilst we are here, preview any news stories that are coming out. Let's have a look, shall we? What papers have been released? Oh, here we go. The papers for the 11th of August. The Daily Star goes for Brits swamp traditional holiday favourites for boring Belgium to bleat the global warming crisis. Costa del Dull. Tourists lured by mayonnaise on chips and hungover, including now. All I can say, guys, tonight, obviously, if you think what I'm having, I am not drinking actual beer. I am drinking non-alcoholic beer.
Good man.
You can see it directly here. A beer that is actually got alcohol in. This is just a non-alcoholic Stella that I picked up from my Tesco store. £3.50 for this, roughly. Just under £4. So not bad value for money, if you ask me. Crisp and refreshing taste, as always. But yes, I mean Costa del Sol. That's a place where a lot of people go out. You know, like a lot of people go out there, and I mean Belgium. Sounds called boring Belgium. I mean, they just had a Formula One race there, so would it be boring? I'm not sure.
Nah.
In that one. The iWeekend goes for mortgage rates at war begins as 13 lenders cut prices, but millions still face hikes after base rate rises. Now, we also know as well that mortgage rates, I think the Bank of England have raised them again. Oh, this is just crazy. Oh, is inflation coming down? Not sure on that one. The Financial Times goes for the New York's Tapestry tackles Europe's luxury giants with an £8.5 billion Capri deal. It also goes coach owner to buy a Versace Perrin. I think, is that part of Versace jeans? I'm not entirely sure on that. From as well, and also Premier League on the Metro and the High Street is hammered. Obviously, guys, 400 stores in jeopardy, 12,500 jobs in jeopardy. I want to say, obviously, tonight, guys, Wilko has gone into administration. It's a pretty horrible news. If you're a shopper at Wilko, there's one down the road from me in Basildon, which is potentially going to be closing. So yeah, I just hope, honestly, that if you're at Wilko right now, obviously we do wish you all the best, because we hope that your jobs will be safe. We're all wishing you the best. We're all wishing you hope that you can still get your job there, or whether you do have to move potentially to another employer. It'll be horrible seeing more jobs lost, especially more companies facing huge inflation problems at the moment. Zach, what do you make? Actually, just speaking of that, before I hand over to Zach, there's another paper out from the Independent. Exposed the Great British car insurance con. Premium soared to a record high as hiked 50% in a single year with millennials and older drivers hardest. Yes, my millennium isn't pronounced for it. I always pronounce millennium wrong. What was that one there? But the Great British Car Insurance Con. Now, Zach, will go over the rest of the papers for us.
Yeah, let's start off with today's comical news headline from the Daily Star, which goes on stopping holidays in, very far hot holidays as well, in sort of Mallorca, Spain, hot holiday Greece, any of those areas. They sought traditional fates for Belgium as well to beat global warming crisis. I mean, yeah, come on. You've got to go in the unknown holiday destinations a little bit more often, not via your typical Spain, Greece, Cyprus and that sort of thing, which I'm going there in September, which I'm looking forward to doing. Nevertheless, whilst the weather is not as hot and miserable, it's not as bursting at that time anyway. But yeah, Costa del Dol, they like to call it. Tourists lured by mayonnaise on chips and hangover-inducing beer. Mayonnaise on chips. I mean, I don't mind tomato and chips, but mayonnaise, I don't know. It's good on sausage. It's good on like sandwiches. Good in your tuna. Not sure it's good in your chips.
Fish and chips, that's what you want.
hangover-inducing beer. Yeah, of course. That's if you've been to Mallorca, that is. I mean, you know, beforehand. But nevertheless, hangover-inducing beer. Yeah, I know a few that do drink.
I know
before
that
they,
you don't drink. It's gonna...
Yeah, I don't. I definitely do. I will stick to that not drinking thing that I always tell myself that I will always do, because actually I hate alcohol. I tried it once and I hated it, so that will always be remain.
Everyone has their opinions. That's what we can say on that
absolutely
subject.
Let's move on. The Eye. This is the Friday edition of the Eye. The rates to get your mortgage cheaper. It appears that that's one thing that you all have to look out for as well. I mean, the mortgage crisis continues to go on. People are companies are withdrawing deals and offers because interest rates continue to go up. We know that the Bank of England raised theirs from 5% to 5.25%, 25 basis points last week as well. We covered that as well. But this week, the bank sides are starting to get there. They do want to start offering some nice money bargains. And they feel like now it's a possible time to do it. As well, mortgage rates war begins. 13 lenders cut prices, but many still face hikes after the base rate rises. Major lenders include cut mortgage rates as competition increases, with banks Halifax and National Weatherfield price reduction for 5-year deals. So some tentatively good signs there that there are efforts to start reducing some of the prices for if you're doing it on a 5-year mortgage. But with the fact that base interest rates are still rising, it's still going to be a massive problem for many millions of people who are taking out a mortgage and can't afford to be able to try and pay their mortgage, because the base rate of interest, it keeps going up and up and up and up, and markets as withdraw deals but reduce prices of others. And anyway, it's still a major crisis and still one to look out for as well. Let's do the Financial Times. New York's Tapestry tackles Europe's luxury giants $8.5 billion for Capri deal. So what this is about is Tapestry has agreed to buy Capri Holdings, owner of Vincent Michael Kors, for £8.5 billion, in one of the biggest attempts to create a US rival to European powerhouse Lemmy Kering, as well. So these are fashion design companies that, through deft marketing acquisitions of brands such as Christian Dior, Bain and Constance Lance, come to dominate sales of luxury handbags as well. Tapestry, which on the Coach, Kate Spade, and Stuart Weitzman brands, say it paid $57 a share for Capri, almost 6% above the average price. Tapestry scored $8 billion of debt financing the deal, which will be paid entirely through cash as well. That's sort of the deal there as well. If you want a bit of a nice business briefing on that one as well. The Metro go for High Street hammered, and this is some very sad news today. Wilko have gone into administration. They have failed to find a buyer and a purchases. 93-year-old store Wilko. Wilko is a retail shop as well, selling a range of brands and in items as well. The hardware giant, 12,500 staff are now at risk on losing their jobs. 400 sites are expected to close as well to recoup the debts to them. Stores are still trading but remain low on stock after the family firm failed to find a cash injection from new investors, securing £40 million in January. It means the famous name could rank like Woolworths and C&A, or like Topshop, Malapa, Debenhams as well. Other stores include Argos, Boots, Cinema, Iceland, have all confirmed hundreds of store closures as well. But yeah, very sad news for many of the people who are now worried that jobs are going to be on the line, they're going to be made redundant because they have Wilko have failed to find new owners and new investment. It's a very bad sign for the high streets. You just said, Charlie, there's one next to you as well. It's a very serious situation with Wilko. Not the end of the world, but it could well go, if it's not going to go into administration, can't find the stuff, then it could well go into liquidation as well, potentially, if they fail to find new owners and new investment as well. And even if they do get new investment, Charlie, as well, new owners, there'll probably still be cuts to jobs and store closures regardless anyway, as well, to save the costs and to be able to cover all the debts as well that they owe. The Independent goes for that incredible picture of the wildfires in Hawaii. They called it like a blowtorch. 11,000 fleeing at the moment as well. Flames whipped by strong winds destroyed town Malaya. President Biden declared a major disaster zone as well. Obviously, we think about everyone who's fleeing there as well. But also, they've gone for their big story as well. And an exclusive for them, car insurance premiums have rocketed by almost 50% over the past year, with older drivers and millennials hit the hardest. Now, this is very serious for people like us, Charlie, because we drive cars and we're car as well. Figure analysis, consumer intelligence, which study data from Compare the Market, Go Compare, Confused.com, Compare the Market, Money, Superstore revealed that premiums rose by 48% on average in the 12 months of June, and now at their highest since 2018. Executives at the top of the as well as increasing premiums as well. At the top, Charlie, the executives are profiting off of that as well. I handed 6 and 7-figure salary bonuses from last season as well. I think that's utterly appalling, and these executives are a fraud, that they are receiving these 5-6 salary bonuses whilst our premiums are going up by 14-50%. They are absolute frauds and a disgrace, and they should be passing on the savings and the costs to themselves and not to the customer, quite frankly, in that situation. I'm afraid they are absolutely appalling in that business as well. Now, I believe there's another paper that has come out whilst we've been
The Guardian has just released its front page with it gone with the headline, Prime Minister will go down in history for failing on the climate. That's Greenpeace. Now, that comes after Rishi Sunak's home got apparently invaded last week by climate protesters sitting on the roof.
Yeah, Greenpeace spoke out. Rishi Sunak government go down in history for failing UK climate trials while minister to pursue a dangerous culture war. That's head of Greenpeace. Describe government. Now, the government negotiation briefings and meetings have now been suspended with Greenpeace after the incident of where the Prime Minister's home was, was intruded by Greenpeace protesters and climate activists as well. Real Right interview, Abu Hub and Will McCann said an unprecedented move to block the charity's policy experts from advising civil servants could be disastrous for environmental policy. But obviously, Greenpeace did this because after decision for the Prime Minister to grant 100 new oil and gas licenses to be drilled in the North Sea as well, which, I don't blame them for protesting. I just blame them for the tactics, really, in many ways as well. But yeah, I agree with them, Greenpeace on this, because it just shows a lack of understanding of climate-related concerns. Yes, obviously, we have to consider the fact there is a cost of living crisis, so we have to be careful of people's costs and everything like that as well, whilst moving to green transition. But nevertheless, 100 new oil and gas licenses in the North Sea, I think is a backward step, and is really not great to use as well. In terms of fight to get net zero as well. It just feels like the climate has gone a bit cold on it in many directions as well. I want to mention this other story as well that's interesting enough on also the Guardian as well. I've got a little bit of time. Patients in England having radiotherapy are set to have part of their treatment performed with the use of artificial intelligence after it's used to help NHS clinicians recommended for the first time. So we are now going to have cancer treatments done by AI, Charlie. I mean, at the end of the day, they're cancer treatments. They're treating your cancer. So at the end, if it's done by humans, if it's done by AI, as long as it gets treated, 9 technologies have been for external becoming radiotherapy in lung, prostate, and colorectal cancers. In believing we could save radiographs hundreds of thousands of hours and help release a sensitive, severe pressure in radiotherapy department as well. There was 419 radiotherapy episodes in England in April 2021. To March 22, requiring secret portion, requiring complex planning as well. So if AI is able to help this out, I think AI is a good thing in this instance because it can help save time in the procedure and make these cancer treatments much quicker. So I would support this if you really, this is the case as well, to help cancer treatments and save people's lives. That's a good use of technology there to advance cancer treatments and make the NHS more efficient at running as well. So yeah, that's all good there. And that, Charlie, I believe is the papers for 11th of August tomorrow, 2023.
Yeah, that's for Friday, 11th of August. I just want to say before we go, I think there was also one other news story I just wanted to mention, which was, I think, a fatal event that happened, I think, this week, because I was reading out reports I think in Northern Ireland or Republic of Ireland, there was, I believe, a shooting, which I read up. There was a horrible event. I saw this on the news the other day, which I thought I'd just want to cover because it's not a nice thing. And I just want to say quickly to everyone that events like this should never happen. And yeah, it was certainly something. I think it was Northern Ireland, actually. I think. I'm not sure. Let me see if I can get it up. For you guys, yeah, it was a PSNI data breach as well, from what we understand.
Yeah.
As well, family fears as the safety of my police officer, and that was also another story that came out as well. I'm just getting up the story now to see whether it was announced. Doesn't look like there was one on that as well, because I did see it on the news, but I think it's gone now. Just before we go, Zach, what did you make, obviously, to this this PSNI breach?
Yeah, I mean, very serious breach, and actually appalling breach of sensitive information that's been leaked out to the public of police people's addresses, locations where they work, and information what the roles are. That is a very serious and awful, shocking data breach that has devastating impacts as well on people's security and their safety. It's a very, very bad breach as well. I should also mention as well, on the top of breach as well, the Electoral Commission has been hacked this week as well. You may have seen a story that the Electoral Commission has been hacked as well by bad actors. Now, this hacking, although only got reported today, a couple of days ago, actually happened 11 months ago. So it makes you wonder what the hell has been happening at the Electoral Commission, basically covering up a data breach that happened 11 months ago and not inform us. So all our data have probably been accessed and infoed and all that sort of thing as well, which is a really bad data breach. There's been 2 data breaches happened. There's the Electoral Commission, some point to some sort of Russian involvement in that, and obviously the breaches of the information. Some police officer, obviously don't know who it is, leaking information and pressing the enter button into releasing thousands of information of police's data from the database. I mean, very shocking incident, and something that should be really treated as a serious breach, and something that the Information Commissioner's Office should look at very quickly.
Yeah, and that is all the news we've got time for tonight on the Tonight Show podcast. Thank you so much for watching. We'll be back again next week for another edition of the show. Take care, everyone, and enjoy the rest of your Thursday evening. Take care, and good night.